What is up, y'all? Welcome back to another video, and in this video we are going to be talking about the Detroit Lions' second week matchup. That don't even make sense. Week 2 matchup against the Green Bay Packers. Let's get it started. Alright everybody, now before we get into the video, before we start breaking down this matchup, I want to say shout out to all of you guys who actually bought shirts. That is awesome. I really do appreciate it. Hey, there's no pressure to get them, but I want to say thank you guys to the people that did, because it's really awesome to see when you sell a shirt, and it's a good feeling. It really is, and I do appreciate the heck out of you guys. And I'm just letting y'all know, you guys are gonna have some heat that a lot of people don't got. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's got the jerseys, but you're gonna have some swag. I'm not forcing anybody to get them. Like I'm just appreciating the people that did. Now let's talk about this week 2 matchup. Oh, actually before that, make sure you go check out my gaming channel, DoseOfDion Gaming. Link is in the description, or you can look it up. It is on YouTube, and I actually uploaded a video today as well. So make sure you go check that out. Now, let's hop right into the video. So we're talking about the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions are on the road. If you have not seen my last video against the Chicago Bears, make sure you stop it. Did you stop the video? If you didn't stop the video, I'm just chilling. I mean, all right, well, if you don't want to look back? Okay, I mean, you don't have to go back if you don't want to, but I'm just letting you know, there's a spoiler right here. There's a spoiler right here. I have the Detroit Lions winning against the Chicago Bears 24-17 week 1. So there you go. I'm sorry, I tried to warn you, but hey, that's all I can do, man. It's all I can do. Anyways, that was my prediction. So the Detroit Lions are coming into this 1-0. I have not predicted for the other NFC North teams. That'll probably be something we do closer to the season. So the Detroit Lions are 1-0. Now they're going into Green Bay, another divisional opponent. So week 2 divisional opponent, week 1 divisional opponent. Lions are 1-0 in the division. Another huge game. Obviously, at Green Bay is always a huge game. The good thing is it's actually early in the season, so you're going to play them in some warmer weather. But I do feel like the last time we played them in warmer weather, we lost. We made like a kind of nice push at the end, but I feel like we lost that game. So I don't know. We'll see if it has its advantages or not. I mean, I don't know. We have a lot of Georgia guys, so that could definitely be an advantage, right? So I don't know. We'll see. But I think a lot of people do view it as an advantage to play when they're playing in the warmer weather. So we'll see how it turns out for Detroit Lions. But obviously, they're at Green Bay week number 2. And it's just huge. To play back-to-back divisional teams to open the year is incredible. It's a major opportunity. It could go one way or another. And it could be great, or it could be very, very hurtful, man. If we started off 0-2, we'd be in a pretty bad spot. So, you at least got to get one of them. But if you can get both, ooh, you're sitting pretty, especially with the win at Green Bay already under your belt. So, boom, let's talk about this matchup. Now, if you look at the Lions and the Green Bay Packers last season and their 2 matchups, the Detroit Lions lost both of those games. But I'm not going to stay on this too much, but let's be real here. All right, let's be real. Packers fans, let's be real here. We should have beat y'all the first time. Like, I'm not even going to get into it too much, but come on, man. That game was whack as heck. The face mask? No. The hands to the face gate. That's what that is. So we lost that game, whatever. But we're moving on. And the other time we lost was at the end of the season with a third-string quarterback. We lost that game by 3. They were playing for a home field advantage. We were basically playing for nothing. Honestly, a lot of people wanted to see us lose just for a higher pick. We were basically playing for nothing, and, we almost won that game. So I definitely think, this is a team that the Lions can beat. Last season, the Packers finished the season 13-3. So obviously that record looks good. They were in the NFC Championship game. They lost. They got blown out by the Niners. But that record looks good, right? That looks like a very dominant team. To me personally, they're not a dominant team. I don't think they are. I don't think they were last season. I feel like we could at least beat them one time, and I think we can handle them this year as well. But they are still a good team. I'm not trying to just say they're bad, because that's dumb. They're a good team. I just don't think they're as good as that 13-3 record shows. So looking at their numbers from 2019, they averaged 23.5 points per game, which was 15th in the league, 233 passing yards per game, which is 17th, 345 total yards, which is 18th, and 112 rushing yards, which is 15th. So you can see pretty much average across the board offensively. Everything's like right in the middle. So that's kind of how their offense was last season. Then on the defensive side of the ball, they were 9th in points per game allowed with 19.6. They were 18th in yards allowed per game, total yards 352, 232 passing yards per game, which was 14th, and 120 rushing yards allowed per game, which was 23rd. So again, pretty much average defensively and offensively, aside from the defensive points allowed per game. Pretty much average. They're one of those teams that just don't have like a glaring weakness. They don't have that big hole that really like kind of hurts them and that can, make them lose games. They also don't have something that's like completely pops out to you and it's like, whoa, look at that. They're just pretty much solid to good all around at everything. And that's why they're consistent. That's why they can beat the teams that they should be, because they don't have any major weaknesses. There's nothing that, just really can take them out of the game too much, but they're also not super dominant at anything. So I think that's why, teams like the Niners were able to take care of them, because the Niners were dominant at some things, right? The Niners, you think of the 49ers, I think of defense, I think of running the football, because that's what they're really, really good at. I mean, they're really good at that. And that's what they did against Green Bay. And they kind of smacked them both times, all right? If you look during the season, they beat them by 29 points, and then obviously in the NFC Championship game, they beat them by double digits again. When you look at their 3 losses actually from last season, they came against the Eagles, Chargers, and the Niners, and we beat the Eagles and the Chargers because those 2 games were 2 of our first 3 games, and Matthew Stafford was healthy. So we could beat this team. I mean, we definitely could have beat this team. The first time we played them, we had Stafford. We probably should have won. We can beat this team. I'm not too worried about them that much. Honestly, I don't think they're the best team in the North this season. But I'm not too worried about them either. But we're going to talk about what they did in the offseason, some players they brought in, some players they moved on from, and what they did in the draft. So the main things that they brought in, the main players, the main coaches they brought in a new defensive backs coach named Jerry. They also extended Crosby's contract, which is okay with me because he's had some really awful games against the Lions. I feel like he's got bad luck there, so I'm good. I'm good with that. They also brought in Connor Lewis. They brought in Rick Wagner, who was our tackle last season. They brought in Christian Kirksey for a 2-year deal. That is a linebacker. They brought back Mercedes Lewis. They brought in Devin Funchess, a wide receiver out of Carolina and Michigan. They brought back Alan Lazard. And then when you look at the things that they moved on from their wide receiver coach, which is I don't know. Make of it how you want. They also moved on from their quarterback, Manny Wilkes. I think his name's Manny Wilkes. Don't even know who that is, to be honest. They moved on from Geronimo Allison, who is now a Lion. Brian Bulaga, who was their tackle. That's why they went and got Rick Wagner. They moved on from Blake Martinez, who was kind of the big name they let go. And then B.J. Goodson. They're another interior linebacker for depth. So those are kind of the major moves they made in the offseason. Now let's talk about what they did in the draft. So heading into the draft, a lot of people are expecting them to go get a weapon. I'm expecting them to go first-round wide receiver. I don't think they've ever done it with Aaron Rodgers. I don't think ever. So, maybe something new. They're late at the end. They're at the tail end. They're picking number 30. So that's kind of what you're thinking, right? Maybe just grab a wide receiver, something like that. There's some really good wide receivers out there. And, Lions already took Okudah. So, that'll give them something to go against. But the Packers had other ideas. They had other plans. They decided to move up and select Jordan Love, which is something that a lot of people didn't like. I would say Packers fans weren't necessarily happy. I feel like it's not terrible to get your quarterback for the future. I really don't. After coming off an NFC Championship game, I can see why you wouldn't. I don't think it's awful, but trading up to get him as well is kind of just, oh, wow, that's tough, Packers fans. So now there's tons of rumors swirling on, is Aaron Rodgers mad? Does he not want to be here? What's the problem? What's going on there? So, I'm going to stay out of it. It's not my business, but hey, I'm just saying they took a quarterback in the first round, which definitely shocked some people. Then in the second round, they went with A.J. Dillon, the running back out of Boston College, who's kind of like a bowling ball. Just think of a bowling ball running a football. Think of a bowling ball with feet. All right, that's A.J. Dillon. Then at number 94, they took a tight end named Josiah DeGora. I think that's how you say his name. He's a tight end out of Cincinnati. Then at 175, they took Kamal Martin, a linebacker out of Minnesota, so kind of just filling out those needs now. At 208, they selected John Runyon, the Michigan offensive lineman. Hey, y'all, I just realized I read the picks wrong. You can see him on the screen, though, so, don't make... y'all can see him on the screen, okay? I read him wrong. I got it. All right, enjoy the rest of the video. And at 209, the very next pick, they select Jake Hansen, the center out of Oregon. Then at 236, they took Vernon Scott, the safety out of TCU. And then their last pick was Jonathan Garvin, the edge rusher out of Florida. So that's what they did in the draft. They did bring in one undrafted free agent wide receiver, I've heard. But obviously they didn't draft one, which kind of shocked a lot of people. Looking at the wide receiver group, though, I feel like it's got some solid depth. I just don't love their number 2 wide receiver, and I think I would have rather went with a wide receiver if I'm the Packers. I'm just saying. And then with mid-round or late-round quarterback, that's just me. But hey, you guys do you. Maybe he'll be your future. We'll have to wait and see. The thing is, me as a Lions fan, I'm okay with it, though, because it's not going to impact us this year. So that's great. Trying to win this year, it's not going to impact us, the quarterback. Or at least it shouldn't. So that's what's really nice about it. Now, I'm going to be doing the format a little bit different here today, and hopefully for the rest of the videos as we continue to improve these. Basically, what I'm going to be doing is looking at, kind of... Let's say, for example, Packers passing offense against the Lions passing defense. We'll give the edge to a team. We did this last year during the season, and we're going to do that this offseason. Obviously, this is kind of hard right now because we don't know what we're going to get out of rookie players. You don't know what you're going to get out of free agents, in a new scheme. You just don't know. You don't know what injuries are coming up, but we're going to try our best. Let's get right started. All right, we're actually going to start off with that scenario. The Packers passing offense against the Lions passing defense. This is a pretty big one. As I mentioned before, the Packers passing offense finished 17th in the league, so they're kind of an average team when it comes to that. Looking at the roster, they had Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, they still have Aaron Rodgers. So, there you go. That's your quarterback. And wide receiver is where it's kind of interesting, right? They have Devontae Adams, who's a very good wide receiver. They have Devin Funchess, Lazard, Scantling. I feel like their depth is pretty solid. I actually do like the depth. I'm not going to lie. Like, I do like the wide receiver depth. And I think after, the 2 wide receiver, I'm like, yeah, I mean, they look pretty good. So I feel like they got a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things and can be pretty reliable. The problem, though, I don't think they have a number 2. I don't think Funchess is a number 2. Maybe Lazard takes over that role. I don't think Funchess is a number 2. That's just me. And I like him because he's from Michigan. So I give him, probably more credit than I do a lot of players. But at the same time, I just don't think he's a number 2. He's 6'4", so he's got some size. He's not super fast. His catch percentage is kind of low. It's around 50%. Last season, he played in 1 game. He was on IR, which I'm not really putting against him too much. He's been solid with, teams like Carolina. I just don't think he's a pure number 2 wide receiver. So I think for the Lions, that's a huge advantage, knowing either Trufant or Okuda's probably going to be covering him, so that's pretty big. Then at tight end, they have Sternberger. They also have Lewis, and they have Tanyan. I think it's Tanyan. I think that's his name. Tanyan. I'm not exactly sure. He's a tight end. Don't really know who he is. Then at the offensive line, pretty much the same offensive line with the addition of Rick Wagner at that right tackle position. So that's what the offense is looking like. And when you look at the Detroit Lions passing defense, obviously pressure is a huge, huge factor. And I believe the Detroit Lions are going to get more pressure this season. I'm curious to see how much they blitz a team like this and how much they blitz this season because they didn't do it often last year at all. Trey Flowers, with Danny Shelton, you got Nick Williams in there. I feel like you got some solid pass rushers, but specifically looking at the secondary, when you look at that as a whole, I think this is the Lions' strong suit defensively. They got Okuda, they got Amani, they got Trufant, they got Coleman, they got Duron Harmon, they got Walker, they got Harris, they got Collins. They got guys that can help in coverage a lot. And I think, man-to-man, 1-against-1, you're putting Devontae Adams. He may have the advantage on a guy like Okuda or Trufant, depending who it is. Maybe Okuda just because he's young. But then after that, I feel like the Lions have the advantage across the board when it goes wide receiver against secondary player. I think, Devin Funchess would get locked up by either Trufant or Okuda. Lazard gets locked up if he plays at this slot by a guy like Coleman. And then obviously the depth we have Amani. So I feel like the Detroit Lions actually have the edge here. It just really comes down to if they're able to get pressure, because if you can't get pressure, secondary really doesn't matter too much. They are reliable on how much pressure you can get. So we'll see if the Lions blitz a little bit more, or if those guys can get home a little bit more with Danny Shelton opening up the way. We'll see what kind of defense they run and if they mix it up at all this season. That's going to be really interesting to see how much they mix it up this season. I will give the slight edge to the Lions, but I can see why you would give it to the Packers because they are kind of more proven, I guess I would say. So there you go. Now let's move on to the next positional group where we have the Packers rushing offense against the Lions rushing defense. The Packers rushing offense seems like it's going to be pretty darn good if you ask me. I think they're going to be running the ball pretty well. Last season, they finished 15th in the league with 112 rushing yards per game. And when you look at them on paper, again, their offensive line is pretty solid. They have David Bakhtiari at the left tackle position, which is solid. They have Jenkins, they have Lindsley, they have Billy Turner, and then Rick Wagner. I think Rick Wagner is the weak link there. I'm just going to be real. I think that's why I wanted to move him so bad. That's why we cut him. I think he's a weak link, and I think if he's lined up against a good pass rusher, he could get eaten up a few times. I think Julian, I think Romeo, I think Flowers. Somebody's going to get a sack off that side, Deshaun Hand. Somebody's going to make a sack during the game. But I do feel like that running back position is pretty darn solid, okay? They have Jones, they got Williams, and now A.J. Dillon. They got pretty much a three-headed monster there that is very talented. I mean, Aaron Jones is good. Williams is pretty darn good. And now you got A.J. Dillon to kind of mix it up. So I'm actually, kind of impressed by what they have at the running back positional group. I think it's pretty nice. Now, the Lions did a huge jump when it comes to trying to run stop. They tried to take full advantage of what they could in free agency in the draft of trying to build a team that could stop the run a lot better. Danny Shelton's kind of known for his run stopping ability. You brought in even more run stopping linebackers with Reggie Ragland. But I'm going to give this one to the Packers. I'm going to give the edge here. I think the Lions rushing defense will be better, but obviously that's not saying a lot when you were terrible last season. I think it will be better though. I think it's going to be, probably middle of the pack, hopefully. But I will give the advantage here to Green Bay, man. I think their running game is going to be pretty solid this season. I could see them cracking top 10. So I'm going to give the edge to the Green Bay Packers. So it's 1-1. All right, next up, we have the Detroit Lions rushing offense against the Packers rushing defense. I cannot English. Looking at the Packers defensively, their defensive line is pretty much the same with really just some more depth moves. Oh my gosh. And at a linebacker, I'm sorry, they moved on from a few good tacklers. They have Kirksey in there. They have some solid linebackers, but honestly, they're not as good as they were. At the edge rusher position, their edge rusher position is kind of deep, if you ask me. You got Garvin, you got Rashawn Gary, you got both the Smiths. I feel like they got some really good pass rushers, which is going to be huge in this game. The Detroit Lions can hold up against those guys. But I just don't see a great defensive line here. I think that's where it all starts. I think that's where the push comes from. And maybe I'm putting too much into unproven players, but that's really all I can do because we don't know what we're going to see. I'm going to give the slight edge to the Lions again. I think all of these are close, and all of these up to this point can be flipped. I'm going to give the edge to the Lions, though, with DeAndre Swift, with Jason Huntley, with Bo, with Ty, with Kerry, and depending on who makes the team, I think we have a nice rotation going on there. I think the passing game, which was so good last season, can help open up the run. And I really just think the Lions' rushing offense is going to be better this season. You know, they got a run blocking tight right tackle. They got a run blocking left guard potentially if he starts. They got a new right guard. I just think that they're going to be able to run the ball pretty darn well this season, and it'll actually look pretty good. And I think they're going to go to it a lot, trying to take some pressure off of Matthew Stafford. So I'm going to go edge the Lions. And now finally we have the Lions passing offense against the Packers passing defense. And if you look at the Packers defense, cornerback position, it's not bad. You know, obviously they have their guy Jair Alexander, who's a good cornerback. They have King, who's solid as well. They have Solomon, Holman. They have some okay depth, but really the top two to me are pretty good. Obviously Alexander is really good, but at the same time, we got a guy named Kenny Golladay, which is kind of a problem. I'm not going to lie with you. Kenny Golladay kind of is a problem for everybody. They have some very good safeties, if you ask me, with Adrian Amos, Savage, and Green, who was on IR last season. I think they have some really solid secondary players. But at the same time, when you look at the Lions' weapons, I really can't see a scenario here where the Lions, on paper, are not better when it comes to weapons. I mean, you're telling me that those new linebackers can keep up with a guy like Swift and Huntley out of the backfield, depending on what we do. You're telling me that they can stop Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, Danny Amendola, Quintez Cephas, Marvin Hall. I can't even think of all the names. I think the Lions wide receiver, they have too many weapons. Like I said, before Stafford went down, they were first in passing yards. There's literally no way I cannot give this edge to the Lions. So I'm giving the edge to the Lions. That makes it 3-1. And then on special teams, I'll give it a tie. We do have Prater, which I think is better than Crosby, but our punter situation we're not really sure about. And the same thing with the kick returner situation. However, at the end of it all, I think I'm going to give the Lions the slight edge here over the Green Bay Packers. It's pretty much 3-1. That's kind of how it's finished out. I think the Detroit Lions are going to be in a very big game. I think this is once again a game like last time where we talked about Quinn and Khalil Mack, where a guy like Big V and Taylor Decker have to prove themselves and prove that they can hold up against both the Smith, guys that blitz off the edge. We also need guys that can block out the backfield. But I think this can be a huge opportunity for a guy like DeAndre Swift to make some big plays to kind of exploit them trying to blitz off of the edge. I think this is going to be a huge opportunity. And then I think defensively it's going to be big on Danny Shelton to kind of halt the run and, force them into some passing situations. And obviously you got to rely on some new cornerbacks, new additions. Both our top two cornerbacks, think about that, are new. We haven't seen them with the Lions once. So definitely some question marks. But at the end of it all, I'm going to give the Detroit Lions a 24-23 win over the Green Bay Packers in Green Bay. I think they pull it out, whether it's a game winner, whether it's a game-winning field goal. I don't know what it is. It could be a game-winning field goal by Matt Prater. At the end of it, I'm going to give the Detroit Lions a 1-point win and starting the season 2-0. And no, they probably won't go 16-0, okay? I know some people are already thinking that. But that is my prediction. Let me know your thoughts, comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'm out.